Instead, she hands you an empty bowl and tells you to walk to every single one of your classmates and beg for money.
What?
Why? Because your family is struggling to make ends meet.
Bro, this is evil as fuck. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to RICHLEV fam. Now today, bro, we got every school punishment that was illegal explained in 12 minutes by the evaluator. Shout out the evaluator. Make sure you guys go subscribe if you like this type of content. Now, this popped up on my recommendations, and I feel like you guys would be interested. I was interested in this because, yeah, I feel like obviously back in the day, the only thing that we really know, or that's a general consensus, is that teachers used to be slapping on, you know what I'm saying? They used to be able to do some crazy punishments, but in this case, look at these pictures, bro. These all look absolutely inhumane. So we're gonna see what type of stuff was going on back then, or even possibly now. I don't know. So without further ado, make sure to grab your popcorn and let's see.
Total isolation. You're in a classroom, surrounded by your friends, but something's not right. For you, the world is too loud and the lights too bright. When your teacher notices, he tells you it's time for the safe room.
The safe room?
Before we continue,
does that basically mean they're gonna put you in a fucking one of those rooms with just four white walls, no sound, no fucking way to use your senses or nothing?
I just want to say that we're not AI. Everything you're about to see and hear is pure human creativity.
Okay.
Anyway, you're led down
Proud
the
to say
hallway
not
to a
AI.
heavy door that looks like it belongs in a warehouse. But once you're inside the storage closet, they shut the door behind you. You're left alone in that darkness, not knowing when they'll get you out.
No
This
way.
was the daily reality for DP, a young student with autism. His education plan involved these timeouts, which in reality were long periods of being locked in a dark closet.
Bro, why would they do that though? Like, how did they even think that something like this would be beneficial, bro? Like, this had to be just fucking on some hating shit, or this had to be something of malicious intent for sure.
Called it behavioral management, but for DP, it was torment.
What?
So much so that he'd soil himself in the dark.
Oh,
and when that would happen, the school didn't care. Instead, he was forced to help staff clean up the mess caused by his own panic. And
Okay, this is just prison at this point. This dead ass a prison for a kid, bro. Especially with autism stuff. This is actually so malicious that I can't believe that this is really a thing. I mean, at that point, I mean, what can you say other than the whole staff of the whole school just hates this kid?
he wasn't the
Like,
only
what?
one. Schools regularly used these bizarre punishments under the
Wow.
guise of therapy and support. DP's mother sued the school when she found out.
Thank
but
God.
the legal battle dragged on for years before the court finally addressed this civil rights violation. However, while
Bro, that's the thing that sucks about anything that involves, you know, suing and court and stuff, is that like everybody says, oh yeah, just do it, but don't understand, first of all, the financial stress that'll take on someone to even have lawyers, to have everything put together, and then on top of that, the time frame. I mean, cases don't get solved in 1-2 days, bro. Like, they could take years. Like, sometimes it could, I mean, depending on the case and how hard the people you're going against fight back, it could take up to fucking 6 to 10 years or something like that. It just depends, you know, like how they want to use their money or something. And in some cases, the best case scenario is that, you know, they just settle and just offer you a certain amount or whatever. But sometimes that's not a satisfying thing to do when you're trying to sue someone, because you want them to actually face some type of consequence instead of just like paying their way to get out of it. But in some cases, that might be the best scenario, you know, just take the money. So it's just a lot of different complicated things when it comes to, you know, legal things.
legal victory allowed DP's family to sue, thousands of these isolation rooms still exist in schools,
Wow.
proving that the most disturbing punishments are often the ones that happen under supervision. Begging bowl.
That's insane.
You're a teenager
Begging bowl.
sitting in your classroom. Your teacher calls you to the front, but it's not to praise your work.
Well, why does it gay?
You to the front,
That's how they
but
call you?
It's not to praise your work. Instead, she hands you an empty bowl and tells you to walk to every single one of your classmates and beg for money.
What?
Why? Because your family is struggling to make ends meet. This isn't some old
Bro, this is evil as fuck. No. This is actually so evil, bro. Like, so you telling me the teacher is basically taking this kid through a humiliation ritual because what? Like, she couldn't pay her lunch or some type of fees for school. I don't know. Is this a private school or something? I never heard of just general fees for school, but something that their parents haven't paid, which is completely not her fucking fault at all. And she's telling her to go beg her other classmates for money. Like, I've never heard that shit. This is some Disney movie evil villain shit, bro. Like, there's no way this is for real.
Timey tale. It's what happened to Miriam Beebe in 2012. The teacher decided to exploit.
That's a cool ass name, by the way. Sorry.
What happened to Miriam Beebe?
Miriam Beebe. That's a cool ass name. I like that.
In 2012. The teacher decided to exploit her poverty, forcing her to beg her friends for money.
Wow.
It was a calculated ritual of social degradation designed to break her spirit. A sick psychological punishment to ensure that everyone else knew exactly where she sat in the social hierarchy.
Bro, that's just so fucked up too, bro. Like, there's no route in which you could say like this would benefit the child at all, bro. This is literally just a humiliation ritual. She's gonna remember this for the rest of her life and be scarred, bro. Like, just because of a social hierarchy, which is so fucking stupid. I mean, you're a kid, bro. You can't control that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing when adults maybe try to make fun of each other or say stupid shit. Like, when we have the maturity level to kind of wipe things off or, you know, live our life otherwise. But this is a child, bro, like going through developmental processes, you know, growing into themselves and stuff and still getting that confidence and stuff or not getting the confidence. In this case, like, her confidence is going to be absolutely fucking shattered for the rest of her life because of this humiliation that her school has invoked on her, bro. Like, that's actually so fucking sick and so sad, bro. Like, this is a real thing that happened, which honestly I believe, because like I said, us humans, we're the worst enemies to ourselves, bro. Like, to a child, bro. A child doing this type of stuff is absolutely unacceptable.
And the humiliation was too much for Miriam. She broke down in tears in front of everyone and left the school traumatized.
Bro.
But while the incident led to a formal complaint from her mother and public condemnation, it had no lasting impact. In fact, these shame rituals remain a legal gray area in many parts of the world, ignoring that destroying a student's self-worth is perhaps even worse than physical pain.
Yes. And I completely agree with that, bro. Because one thing that I've learned, especially growing up and stuff, and you know, a lot of people will probably tell you, like, you know, mental health is not real. Like, mental problems are not real. You know, you just got to just do stuff and just be okay. When as you grow up and you realize and you live in this world and you work jobs and you meet people and you go through certain life things, mental health is like one of the most dangerous things that could possibly happen to you, bro. And whether that's instilled in you by yourself, by other people around you, by just life events in general, that shit could literally fucking take over your whole world, your whole perspective on life, and change it to something that it isn't. But because it's just so soaked in your mind that things are just bad and you have no confidence in yourself, like you think you're a piece of shit and all this, you know, depending on what people say to you or just how you feel in yourself. And events like this can lead you to feel like self-inflicted wounds because you're allowing people to tell you who you are or make you feel like shit about yourself because of your situation. And in this case, it's so fucked up because literally, kid, you can't control that shit. You literally can't control that shit. And you got schools over here trying to violate a gray area. If you don't know what a gray area means, that basically means that it's an area in which you can break the rule technically, but you're not technically going over to make it so obvious, you know? So a gray area is an area to where you can get away with shit without actually getting in trouble for breaking that sort of rule. Does that make sense, chat? I'm sorry if I didn't explain that well. But yeah, in other words, this is just completely terrible and can really fuck up someone's mental, which is worse than physical pain. Yes, it's worse because it's something that sticks with you forever. Every single day, every single moment of your life, your mental and how you think can shape your whole life in general.
Targeted discrimination. It's the holy month of Ramadan. You're 9 years old and you haven't had any food or water since sunrise. You're excited for your fast, but at school, things go south. You end up getting a timeout after a slight misbehavior, but rather than taking you to an empty office, you're escorted to the cafeteria. When lunchtime approaches, you realize the punishment was worse than it looked. This was the case of a Muslim student in Brooklyn who was forced to sit alone at a table. He was surrounded by the overwhelming smell of hot pizza and the sight of his friends feasting. The school aide knew the boy was fasting, yet they chose to punish him anyway, turning a standard timeout into an act of targeted discrimination. Surrounded by food, the boy eventually broke down, crying publicly in front of everyone. He'd been humiliated and mocked for his beliefs, but when the family filed a discrimination complaint, the school defended it as standard procedure and no further action was taken.
How is literally putting a kid in a very compromised position to not, be able to follow his whole, religion thing? It doesn't matter if you fucking believe it or not, bro. Like, everybody has their own beliefs and things, and it doesn't fucking bother you at all. Like, someone just wants to just not eat. Like, you can eat and have no problem with somebody else not eating, bro. Like, what the fuck is it? Like, I don't get that. That's a main thing nowadays that I feel like is such a problem, is that everybody gives a fuck about somebody else, like, when they shouldn't, bro. Like, it's none of your fucking business. Like, I don't understand why people are so nosy like that. No, that shit pisses me off. And in this case, it's like, dude, you're literally purposely putting a kid in the cafeteria with a whole bunch of food, a whole bunch of things, and making fun of his religion and what he does. And that's just unacceptable to me. That's fucked up. That is prime discrimination right there.
Were disturbing, but the next stories will make you want to pull your kids out of school. So subscribe and buckle up. Corporal punishment. You're sitting in the principal's office of your Florida middle school. You haven't cheated on a test or started a fight.
By the way, of course, this isn't Florida, by the way, bro.
Test or started a fight. The only mistake you made was not leaving quickly enough for your class. And now 2 grown men are grabbing your limbs, pinning you face down against a table. You brace for a slap, but then you hear a wooden board being picked up from a table. This was the infamous practice of corporal punishment.
Yeah. If I had a kid and I found out that they got punished like this, my nigga, like all 3 of them, y'all probably won't be alive the next day. I'm just saying, bro. Like, hey. I'm just saying, bro. y'all wanna use a wooden paddle on my shit? You gonna find a wooden paddle down your fucking throats, bro. By the time I'm done with y'all.
In which teachers used a
and this shit ain't no magic trick either.
Paddle to discipline students. It sounds inhumane, and what happened to James Ingram in 1970 proves just that. At the time, for not leaving the auditorium fast enough, he was beaten over and over again.
Are you serious, bro?
By the 20th strike, he had gone numb. The punishment was so severe that he suffered a hematoma and couldn't sit down for 11 days. However,
like, are we fucking... Yo, this is absolutely fucking insane. This is absolutely insane, bro. Like, how do the parents not instantly become John Wick in this situation? Like, I don't care what's legal. I don't care none of that shit, bro. Like, you just beat my kid to the point where he can't even sit for 11 whole days, my nigga. You gonna not be able to breathe for 11 whole seconds after I'm done with your ass. Bro.
When James took his case to the Supreme Court, he didn't find justice. The Ingram versus Wright precedent was born, and the Supreme Court ruled that hitting students does not violate the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. The reasoning? That protection is reserved for convicted criminals. The court argued that because schools are open environments, students don't need the same constitutional protections as prisoners.
That's insane.
The ruling gave schools...
It's actually so disgusting how some things like this can be worked around, like in court and shit, bro. How, in all reality, this is why, like, I feel like I could never be some type of judge or even a lawyer or some bullshit like this, because I just couldn't stand with being able to, allow people to get away with shit like this just because of some sort of gray area or some workaround in the law and stuff, especially when it comes to literally beating fucking children. Like killing somebody, doing something crazy, like it's one thing when it comes to financial things, when it comes to technological things, copyright, like a whole bunch of, technical things that have nothing to do with real life aspects, real life that affects real families and real people. But in this case, it's like, dude, like, how the fuck are we even in a fight about a teacher beating the hell out of a student so bad that he couldn't sit for 11 days? And you tell me there's absolutely no justice that could be handed? None at all?
Green light to treat students as second-class citizens and continue using physical violence as a disciplinary tool. To this day, corporal punishment remains legal in 17 U.S. states.
No fucking way, bro. This is new to me, bro. Hold on, I actually have to search this up now. Corporal punishment is legal in all 50 states. U.S. states for parents within non-excessive limits, but prohibited in schools in 26 states and D.C. While illegal in juvenile detention in military settings, it remains in the books for 17 plus states for schools, mostly in the South, allowing paddling and spanking. Jesus Christ. Holy. So yeah, it is true, bro. It is legal in a lot of these states and stuff, and that's absolutely fucking disgusting, because as you've seen with that last situation we just watched, they can use that doorway to go ahead and literally beat the shit out of children and not get in trouble for it. That's disgusting.
So when a teacher strikes an adult, it's assault. But if they use a wooden paddle on a student, it's simply called discipline.
Wow.
Burpees. You're a high school cheerleader with a doctor's note telling you to rest. You show it to your coaches expecting to sit on the sidelines. Instead, they look you in the eye and order you to the floor. And for having the audacity to want rest, you're sentenced to 50 burpees.
Wow.
Try to comply, but by the 13th
Bro, this shit is not Diamond Jim, dude.
rep, your body is giving up. This was the case for a student known as EH.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Nigga, I'm not listening to shit you saying. I'm sorry, bro. If I come in with a doctor's note and they tell me I gotta rest and you over here talking about, man, fuck that. Give me 50 burpees, nigga. I'm gonna be like, you want 50 punches to your face, bitch? Like, what is we talking about here, bro? 50 burpees? I'm about to walk out that school, bro. I don't care.
Despite her state, was punished. So much so that it triggered a life-threatening condition called exertional rhabdomyolysis.
What?
Within hours, the cheerleader started suffering from nosebleeds and bloody urine. Her kidneys were failing from being pushed to the limit.
Wow,
and this was a
bro.
terrifying example of an exercise loophole. Coaches use conditioning as a workaround, deliberately making the students suffer to make themselves feel better. In the end, EH had to be taken to the ICU to save her kidneys from permanent shutdown.
Bro, deadass teachers, coaches, and stuff like this that be either hitting children or like forcing them to go past limits even though they literally can't and stuff. They deserve to get to have their parents literally whoop they fucking ass. They need to be whooped, bro. They need to be whooped and then put into jail. They can't just be put in jail. No, they need to get their ass whooped for taking kids through this type of pain. Like, get your fat ass down and do 50 burpees, nigga. I bet you can't even do 50 up and downs. I bet you can't even do 50 push-ups. I bet you can't even do 50 fucking... I bet you can't do 50 of those. Your fat ass.
Her story exposed the disturbing reality that coaches get away with no accountability. Corner holds. You're a youngster with autism, and you're at a support school. But the reality within the walls is entirely different. 2 adults wrap a heavy floor mat around your body and roll you up. You're pinned inside, unable to move as they drag you down the hall. This
is literally just fucking prison, bro. Like, sometimes probably worse, dude. Like, they wrapping you up in one of those, like, what, the straight jackets? What are they called? Straight jackets or straight jacket? I don't know. But, you know, one of those things people try to escape out of and shit. And then throw you in an isolation place on top of that.
Taking you to a room called the Mindfulness Center. This place was a nightmare for Jarrell. In 2023,
is it me or this nigga just turned black? Like,
this place was a
nigga instantly got the N-word pad.
For Jarrell. In 2023, his Connecticut school promised a therapeutic environment. Yet the surveillance footage showed staff using unauthorized corner holds. They'd pin him against walls, roll him in mats, and force him into a seclusion room.
Wow.
But the cruelty didn't stop there. Despite state laws,
like, there's no way this is just a school, bro. This is a prison. There's no other explanation for this shit.
Requiring parents to be notified of any restraint within 24 hours, Jarrell's mother was kept in the dark for weeks.
Weeks? Wait, no. That doesn't mean he was kept at the school for weeks, right? That just meant they were just doing that every day for weeks, right?
It took a 51-page state investigation to end the school's brand of mindfulness and fire the staff. Still, no one was charged, leaving the family with only a civil lawsuit. It was a hollow victory for a student who now feared the very place that promised protection.
That's crazy, bro. No, that's actually, oh my gosh, this is so fucked up. And it's always like this, bro. People just get away with shit legally, man. There's so many workarounds and shit when it comes to legal things, and, you know, having certain amounts of money and stuff can sway any decisions and stuff, even like knowing judges and shit. And, you know, these companies, they just got so much money. The CEOs have so much pool and shit. Yeah, like you really cannot get justice, bro, especially if you're in a position where most likely most families are, where they don't have a shit ton of money to be having lawyers to be really fighting for that shit, you know, or it takes too long and it's just too much funds. Like, even though, yeah, eventually if you do win, most of the time, you know, you can get the lawyer fees paid and stuff, but people don't have that type of capital, bro. Like, most families don't have that shit to be fighting. And then on top of that, they just got to deal with this shit. They got to deal with them not getting justice, and on top of that, the kid has trauma for the rest of his life, doesn't even want to go to school no more. You know what I'm saying? Even though a school might be good and will never have anything like that, he's always gonna have that in the back of his head. He's gonna grow up with that trauma, you know, and that's fucking sad, bro. And there's gonna be no justice for that.
Restraint. It's normal to have an outburst as a teen with autism, but for Max Benson, it led to his worst nightmare. He was in class when he got triggered by something and became violent. However, there was no de-escalation, as multiple adults restrained him face down against the carpet. This was a prone restraint, a position that puts crushing pressure on your chest.
Yeah, like, why the fuck would you do that to a kid, bro? It is never this serious.
Making it extremely difficult to breathe. But the situation was far worse for Max. His hold lasted over 90 minutes.
Okay, bro. Alright, bro. You know what? I was about to maybe let it go. Like, okay, they said that he got violent, okay? So maybe you have to use a little extreme measures to actually get him down, to get him, you know, restraint. But 90 fucking minutes? At that point, you're just doing this shit for fun, bro. Like, you doing this shit for fun. Like, how has parents not been here already? How is some type of security, if you want to take it that far, call the cops or something? Like, I don't know. But you just randomly holding a kid down in this vulnerable position where he could literally fucking break his ribs or something, or constrain his breathing for 90 minutes is absolutely insane. And that's nothing but malicious.
His body gave off every possible warning sign of distress, including vomiting. Yet the staff didn't let go. They kept him pinned long after he'd stopped struggling. Even when Max became unresponsive, the school waited another 30 minutes before calling 911. But by the time help arrived,
nah, they gotta get arrested, bro. This gotta be at the very least attempted murder, attempted manslaughter, bro. Because they literally are willingly waiting and basically wanting this kid to die, bro. Like, it is what it is at that point.
It was too late.
That's Max what it is.
Passed away 2 days later. This California school was ironically marketed as a safe harbor for neurodivergent students. So the fallout was massive. 3 staff members were charged with involuntary manslaughter, and the school was forced to shut down.
They need to be locked up for fucking life. We do not need human beings walking the earth, especially fucking being around children. Just being around anybody, bro. Because if you're willing to do this type of shit to a child, what are you willing to do to adults, bro? But honestly, though, you say that, but at the same time, niggas like this, they pussy as fuck. They're not gonna do nothing to adults. That's why they pick on children, bro. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're really just a danger to children. But because of that, you should just be locked up for life, bro. Go deal with them niggas in jail. Go deal with them, bro.
Forever. But the sad reality is that prone restraints still remain a legal tactic in many special education settings. A sick practice of using excessive force on students who simply need extra help navigating the world. Physical labor. You're a teen who's been sent to a boot camp in the Arizona desert to get your life back on track, but you can't handle the physicality. You struggle to breathe and you're constantly coughing up fluid. When you tell the staff you're sick, they just say you're faking it. Instead of care, they punish you with more physical labor.
So is this technically just like one of those boot camps that parents be sending? Like, it's not necessarily considered a school. I mean, it is a school boot camp where, you know, they just go when they're being super bad and parents believe that they need to just get put straightened and stuff like that. In some cases, honestly, I kind of agree that some kids might be too bad to the point where they need something like this. But at the same time, I feel like even when they're in boot camp, yes, you have to be strict. You have to, you know, put them on a schedule and do everything right and harden them as, you know, men or strong women or whatever. But at the same time, you should be still looking out for their health, bro. You shouldn't literally drive them to the brink of death just for like the lesson of being strong, you know?
Was the story of Nicolas Contreras. In 1998, he learned that at the Arizona Boys Ranch, toughness was prioritized over human life. At the time, he threw up from the pain, yet they didn't call a doctor. Worse, they shamed the boy by handing him a basket of his own soiled clothes, and the staff forced him to carry them as a badge of shame.
That's
Turns
messed up,
out
bro.
he was suffering from pneumonia, a
Oh,
collapsed
no.
lung, and a staph infection that had filled his chest cavity with pus. Yet the staff didn't offer any medical aid even when he dropped unconscious. Shockingly, he wasn't just riddled with infections. Nicholas's autopsy revealed 71 separate cuts and bruises across his body from his final weeks of rehab.
Bro, so they were literally just fucking beating his ass, bro. Beating his ass, scratching him, or probably stabbing him with shit, bro. Like, how does that have anything to do with just regular discipline? This is a 16-year-old, bro.
Rehabilitation. The fallout led to manslaughter indictments and the permanent closure of the
that's
ranch.
literally attempted murder.
Exposed a toxic nature of private reform facilities that continue to run to this day. These
That's
cases
disgusting, bro.
were horrendous.
Yeah, this is the end of the video. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to a lot of these kid things, and this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like these people that be participating in, you know, punishing kids or just going too far with it and stuff, I feel like they have a very, very strong insecurity in themselves, and usually their life fucking sucks so bad. They feel like they have no power in life or whatever, and they feel like this is their way of garnering power, making themselves feel like they're anything, which is absolutely fucking disgusting. And it's like, dude, just worry about yourself, fix your own life, and stop taking it out on kids, bro, just because you a bitch, bro. Like that. I was like, oh my gosh, there's just so much you can go into and stuff. But yeah, these type of videos get me a little emotional and stuff, because you know, when I do anything when it comes to kids, it's just severe, very serious, because these kids, I mean, they're kids, bro. Like, they don't know what the fuck is going on, and adults can exploit that shit, and it's so pussy to me, bro. It's so pussy. I hate that shit. Yeah, chat, let me know what else you guys want to react to, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.